There's always been one show that a lot of fans have had a lot of skepticism over, and that all has to do with the Acolyte TV show by Leslie Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, as well as other creators involved. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support, and let's get into exactly what's been going on with this show. Now, of course, on top of all of this, with Favreau and Filoni gaining more privileges over Lucasfilm each month, the latest offer that they accepted to take on from the Disney board involves fixing something that has been in production issues for months now. Now, this is all linked back to the Acolyte series and how now Favreau and even Filoni are taking over areas of the series to at least fix some portion of the show. Disney is projecting Favreau to actually fix and to actually be involved in around 40% of the series, which is the catch in this big offer that they gave him, and that Kathleen Kennedy will still be in control over some of the episodes. Now, right now, Favreau is looking to minimize the amount of canon-breaking scenarios in the Acolyte series, many of which involve the character portrayed by Carrie-Anne Moss in the show. Further, it's noted that Favreau and Filoni recently made an agreement with Disney that if the show becomes successful, that by contract, Disney will be able to greenlight a season 2 for the series, and that if it's a success, they will allow John and Dave to stay involved as advisors for the second season. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but we know that the Acolyte series originally was intended to be a limited TV show and not a multi-season show, so just be aware about that. But basically what's going on right now is that Disney is offering John and Dave the opportunity to turn the Acolyte into a success. They are now fixing elements and aspects of the show, though it's only going to be around, give or take, 40% that they will have control over. This is really just to minimize how much of, a nightmare could be very well on Disney Plus for the audience, and to at least turn the Acolyte into a somewhat decent running show. Now, the reason behind all of this is that Kathleen Kennedy has been creating a lot of delays and a lot of setbacks for the Acolyte show, and even Leslie Headland was greenlighting a lot of retcons toward the prequel trilogy movies. George Lucas was getting very much upset and angry over all of that. And it didn't stop her. She had no remorse over how much it impacted George or how much of an impact it would have on prequel trilogy lore. So John and Dave are now seeking to at least minimize the amount of retcons toward the prequel trilogy movies, and how they could really find a balance, how they could really find a way to kind of get rid of as many retcons as possible is exactly one of their top priorities right now for the Acolyte. Now, we talked about this recently today, but initially John and Dave were actually fixing the Acolyte months ago before they left due to it being a very toxic environment. Now they are back after that toxicity has somewhat gotten under control to an extent, but now it's more around creativity issues. So moving on, alright, on top of this, now Leslie Headland right now is not happy at all about Favreau taking over aspects of the Acolyte. Not that surprising, really, right? And though their involvement may or may not save the show, they are still dealing with endless setbacks and reshoots that need to be controlled to some degree. One of Favreau's big plans are to protect the sequel, or the prequel trilogy, I should say, the lore of that in the areas that he is allowed to work on. However, this is not stopping the Acolyte creators, Leslie and Kennedy, from doing what they want to do and what they still have control over. The main reasoning behind this is to at least make some episodes appealing to the audience for fans. John and Dave are planning on bringing in old Republic characters in the forms of flashbacks again, something that was the initial plan that Kathleen Kennedy deleted from John and Dave without authorization, and that they are trying to reinstate those scenes and bring them back into the episodes that were supposed to appear in. So, I want to actually elaborate on that. Basically, when they were initially a part of the Acolyte show months ago, when they were fixing some aspects of it, they had all these flashback scenes planned for the Acolyte that featured Darth Malgus, Darth Revan, Darth Sion, and even, of course, Darth Malak. All these different characters that were supposed to make brief cameos in the Acolyte got deleted. They got cancelled by Kathleen Kennedy. and it was something that John, Dave, and Kennedy shook hands over. And she just deleted it behind their backs once they left. Once they left the Acolyte and they were no longer fixing elements of it, she deleted it at the, flip of a dime just like that. Now, the next big thing here is that John and Dave are looking to reinstate those scenes, so they don't really have to refilm anything. They are just finding the right way to place these episodes, or to place these scenes in those episodes. That's going to make it flow very well. Now, on to the next thing. Now, though the Acolyte's number of episodes will now go up and remain at 8 full, Favreau and Filoni do plan on making each episode longer for the fandom. John and Dave have already pitched to Disney that they would like each episode to be a full hour each, without counting credits, in addition to really giving out as much content as possible. Kennedy, however, wants to stick to keeping the episodes in the 35-minute to 48-minute range, and that executives are now deciding on which pitch they want to go with from Kennedy, or Favreau and Filoni's plan. New sets are already being built in studio, one of which taking place on Coruscant, likely to be something to do with the Jedi Temple and or the Jedi Council during the High Republic era of the franchise. Lucas will also be advising over the series now that John and Dave are officially involved, and rearranging sequences and overall scenes for multiple episodes. Now, the thing that I think a lot of fans need to know about this when it comes to the Acolyte is that this is a show that is and was supposed to be 12 whole episodes long, that has now been cut down to 8. So one of the main missions, the big priority by John and Dave now, is that they want to elongate each episode. Not necessarily making more episodes, but they want to elongate each episode to being 1 full hour. But Kennedy is fighting against that, and she's trying to keep it within, like I said before, that 35 to 48 minute range. The thing that really surprises me is that Disney executives are trying to choose which pitch is a better idea, 35 to 48 minutes, or 1 full hour excluding credits. Obviously, John and Dave's approach is better. It makes more sense as long as there's a good story to tell. So be it, 1 whole hour is fine. I think that's one thing that a lot of fans have always been asking for, is that they want these shows to have more consistency when it comes to the overall length, right? I know that was the one big criticism over Mando Season 3 Episode 1, is that it was a little bit short. It was in the mid-30s, give or take. But, well, not a big deal, really. But when you have a show like this, like The Acolyte, for example, there's not a lot of time to really kind of fill in there for just 35 minutes for some of the episodes. So, the last thing I do want to bring up real quick is that Kathleen Kennedy is still going to be involved in The Acolyte. Make no mistake, she still has control over a great deal of the series. But John and Dave are going to have a lot of control over what Disney projects as around 40% of the show. So keep in mind about that. So anyways, guys, I'm very much intrigued what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.